Chapter 12. Masculine and Feminine, Bigger than a Penis or Vagina. Arrived after class had begun and was elated to see that the students had become the teachers. I landed softly on the top limb of Baobab, made my energy as quiet as possible, and listened to a starfish explaining the masculine and the feminine to Corey. This was appropriate, really, for starfish, who had started its life's journey with male reproductive organs that were transformed into female organ at maturity. Starfish embodied what we all were, forms seeking to balance the masculine and the feminine that exist within all of us. "Now, Corey," narrated Starfish from the rock on which it was perched, all its arms splayed in a perfect display of texture and color. "Let me explain that the terms masculine and feminine are human labels defined mostly by one's genitalia, when in fact they are forms of energy that have nothing to do with your genitalia. But for teaching purposes, we will continue to use the word masculine, yang, and feminine, yin, which exists in the gross level of everything. Let us begin with the concepts of I, known as the soul, and me, the mind or personality at the level of the cell. Now listen carefully. An atom is composed by electrons that revolve around each other, vibrating at a high degree. The formation of an atom is from the clustering of negative feminine electrons around a positive masculine one. The positive influences the negative to behave in a certain way to give rise to an atom. When we speak of masculine and feminine, we are not speaking of our sexual weapons, but about vibrations. Note also that in this context, there are none of the connotations humans normally attach to the terms negative and positive. It is in the negative, feminine, node, pole, etc., that new forms of energy and creativity are designed. A feminine electron, or corpuscle, which is a very tiny particle, naturally leaves a masculine corpuscle and seeks union with another masculine corpuscle in the journey to create new forms of matter and energy. As the feminine vibrates rapidly under the influence of the masculine energy, it creates a new atom, manifested in new ideas, creativity, and the expansion of energy. Although the new atom holds the properties of its creator, the masculine center, it also has its own individual properties. Remember that if the universe were Shakespeare and all of us were his characters, then each of us would be a creation of Shakespeare. Each of us, however, would also have our own essence and character as well. Put another way, without Shakespeare there would be no characters, yet each character is not a direct mirror of Shakespeare, but a distortion. In humans, the creation of new atoms at the cellular level mirrors this. The feminine is the active creator, but only by working off the male energy. Therefore, what it creates is different from its creator, but holds the same properties. Thus, everything in the organic world contains and manifests both genders. There is always masculine and the feminine, and vice versa, just like the concepts of yin and yang. In yoga, when we speak of the I, we are referring to the soul that resides in all living beings. When we speak of the me, we are referring to the conditioned mind and by extension the conditioned personality. Each is influenced by the polarity and rhythm of motions and the movement of samskaras, experiences, impressions, and thoughts. For some, the me extends to the external physical self, which they then bind to their personality. For example, their clothes, their looks, for they cannot imagine a self that exists independent of the body. The self that is independent of everything is the I. The me is where all your ideas, emotions, thoughts, and other mental states are housed and created, also known as the chitta. The me, the feminine, needs energy from the masculine I, the soul, to generate new ideas and thoughts either from the I that resides in oneself or someone else's I. Please take note that the I, the soul, may also recline back in awareness and objectively observe the creative process because although generated from it, it is independent of it. The feminine me always moves in the direction of receiving impressions, and the I directs itself to giving. The I gives rise to will, and the me gives rise to creation and imagination. But if you are not connected with the I in you, lazy really, then the me will happily receive ideas and thoughts from external sources instead of producing original mental creations generated from the will and energy of one's own I. This is why humans are so susceptible to the thoughts and ideas conveyed by clever marketing, charismatic people, TV, and social media, and why they so easily take on the ideas of others and make them their own. It is for this reason that we ask you humans to witness what is yours and what you have taken from others, and convince yourself that it is yours when you observe your mind. The fire of tapas has yet to be flamed in many humans to connect to their own soul. Overwhelmed by life, constantly on the move, they have little time or inclination to do the work required to connect to their true self. Instead, most humans would rather take the words of others as truths, rather than seek the truth within. In that context, are you a follower or a leader? Will, when awakened in the soul, rides on the river of thoughts. Each gives birth to unique creativity that is positive and evolves all consciousness closer to light. When you live through pleasures and desires, however, will gets buried and submerged by the mind. Only by purifying the mind and unattaching from one's desires does will flourish through the power of thought. Human, there is nothing that is impossible in the world when pure thoughts are driven and transmuted by the will of the soul. For example, Corey, when you give up the habit of drinking Diet Coke, you do so first by controlling the sense of taste, by destroying a vasana, which is an impression that influences your behavior. You are eliminating a craving by decoloring and burning a seed of like. In that freedom you gain from breaking a negative habit, there is some peace to be gained. The energy that was once spent craving a particular soft drink is now converted into the power of will. With this newfound power, you will continue to overcome other cravings. In doing so, you will feed your internal willpower to lead from your true self, the true I, not the egocentric I, thereby purifying your mind and connecting you to your true purpose, to give rise to unique creativity that lays within you. Human, you will know when this will is blossoming within you, for your eyes will sparkle, you will move with a magnanimous gait, fear will have fled, and a magnetic and dynamic personality will arise from within you. Will is the soul. It is the infinite void of silence that pervades everything. As the feminine electrons vibrate around it, it gives rise to Shakti, the vibrating aspect of consciousness. It is in this vibration that existence was given birth. This dynamic between silence that pervades all and the vibration that reverberates out of it to create is in every human. Therefore, what limits you is not your soul, for that is limitless, but your senses that keep you bound to the external and the constant recycling of the same ideas. Your attachment to the gross forms of masculine and feminine limit you as well. You don't see that these two polarities exist in unison in each human and are constantly seeking balance with the other. When you feel love, you do not say that you feel masculine love or feminine love, you just feel love. You are not male or female, not Indian or American. There's no us and them. You are just conscious energy interacting with matter, seeking balance, creativity, and evolution. You are powerful beings in your own right. You do not need someone else to empower you. Power that is given to you can be also taken from you. And that power that thrives on the weakness of others? Well, true, authentic power does not require the subjugation or weakness of anyone. To access this true power, the feminine, vibrating, circulating energy in each of you, you must connect to the silent, introspective, conscious will that is your soul. Only then can you experience a power that does not constantly seek validation from all that resides externally to you. Now I know, Corey, that you are wondering how one begins to access this power. Well, besides all the other tools we will begin to lay at your feet, you can meet your power by unblocking your chakras. I will be brief here. This is a topic as large as yoga itself, but I shall crack open the door and add to the foundation of knowledge we are building for all humans. Please know that this is really the tip of the iceberg. The topic of chakras is as enormous as those hippos lounging at the edge of ocean. The word chakra literally means wheel in Sanskrit and symbolizes the flow of energy in your body. Although there are thousands of energy channels in your body known as nadis, there are 7 main centers where large numbers of nadis congregate. Each chakra is like a world unto itself, with its own brain, functioning systems, endocrine glands, and influencers to the overall functioning of your body and mind. It is also the place where consciousness meets the body. In other words, where mind meets matter. When balanced, consciousness may influence your emotions and physical lives in a positive way and lead you to feel connected to something greater than yourself. When blocked, consciousness is unable to flow uninterrupted, and you, the human, are left untethered like a pinball bouncing from one place to another. I personally like to imagine chakras to be large concert venues. When opened, they are filled with vibrant, happy, dancing nadis celebrate life. When closed, a chakra resembles a graveyard. All 7 chakras are housed along the main energy channel, Sushumna. Your lower chakras are deeply connected to Shakti, the feminine creative force about which we have been speaking. The root chakra, Muladhara, is located at the base of the spine with your gonads and where your fundamental identity lies, the ego self. It is the seat of fear, the place where you explore who you think you are. When this chakra flows uninhibited, you understand that you are not the content of your life, but space, the silence in which the content exists. You are not the effect, you are the cause. The second chakra is known as Swadhisthana, the sacral or sexual chakra. It is located 3 inches below the navel, and it embraces the ovaries, the digestive system, and the pancreatic glands. It is here that your childhood resides and the issues that you have with yourself and all the things you have tied to your sexuality. As these 2 chakras come into balance, you find yourself feeling more complete, grounded, fluid, and creative. The third chakra, Manipura, is located behind the navel region, below the rib cage, and hugs the adrenal glands. It is associated with self-confidence, self-discipline, and wisdom. When balanced, you know who you are and let go and live without resistance. You no longer engage in self-sabotaging behavior. From here, you slowly move into the more introspective will chakras. The 4th chakra is Anahata, also known as the heart chakra. Located behind the breastbone, it is here that you connect to the cosmic consciousness from the dive board of love. Next, there is the throat chakra, Vishuddha, home of your thyroid gland. It is from here that you express your truth in your thoughts, words, and in all the roles you play in your lives. As you travel further up, you arrive at Ajna, the 3rd eye chakra. When in balance, you become a more resolved human who is self-sufficient and connect to your inner happiness. Coincidentally, it also embraces the master pituitary gland. Lastly, there is the crown chakra, Sahasrara. The 7th chakra is also known to be responsible for the direct connection between you and the universe via the pineal gland, the antenna within your body. So you see, Corey, you are more than just your penis or your vagina. You are both male and female, the manifested forms of energy. To take the spiritual journey, to come into your own power, you must embrace and balance both masculine and feminine within yourself. You must also allow for the uninterrupted flow of energy throughout your human form. You are living in a world right now which is very masculine heavy and creatively dull. Men are seeking to hold on to their masculinity, and women are embracing theirs. As a result, the feminine creative force is being subjugated and the planet as a whole is imbalanced. Upon finishing, the starfish inched its way into the water and disappears. Well, that was a surprise, I chuckled, but a much-needed one. At some point, we were going to have to explain those concepts to you. So I'm happy Starfish decided to take on that task today and threw in the 7 chakras as well. Corey was still staring at the ocean, bewildered by Starfish's sudden disappearance. Is it returning? He asked me. I shrugged, because that was all I knew. Ah, okay. Well, if Starfish comes back when I'm gone, please thank that well-balanced masculine and feminine being for today. I can't believe that all this is yoga. All my life I've overlooked yoga. I thought it was something I should do if I wanted to tie my shoes without falling over as I got older. But this, the magnitude, the science, the knowledge is all, well, I can't find a word that accurately describes my total and utter awe at what you, the unsullied manifestation of the universe, know. Why, thank you, Corey. And I shall pass on your love to Starfish. Now, I would like to change direction just a little here and move into your thoughts and emotions. It is too late to start with the story of asanas, so if you're okay, may we talk about emotions? Well, yeah, I guess so. As you may well know, we men have recently been dumped in the garbage box of being emotionally unavailable. This makes me laugh every time I hear it, because it's not that we are unemotionally available to others, we are unavailable to ourselves. All my life I was told not to cry, to hold my emotions in, to control them. Even now I am told by friends, both anatomically male and female, that when they cry, they are told to stop. And don't even get me started on love. We men are taught that love was an act and not necessarily an emotion. Fix the car, buy a washing machine, build a swing, but do not actually express love. Our mantra was be strong, courageous, and brave. Everything else bury and resist, such that when we did engage in emotions, what followed the expression of them was the unwanted emotion of self-loathing for having them. The empathy in the air was palpable, because under that luminous exterior we had all witnessed the war of emotions that was continually being fought in Corey. Let me take this one, emerged the gentle voice of Baobab. Corey, let us move backward to move forward. Come, sit here on my limb. There are several perspectives and layers to emotion, and each of them is connected. First, according to the ancient Hermetica texts, a pendulum of emotions constantly swings back and forth in all humans. From happy to sad, fear to courage, calm to anxiety. It mirrors and follows the movements in nature, the tides, the moon, the earth, and all the other planets. Its motion is like your breathing, autonomous and beyond your control, but not beyond your influence. Each set of emotions, although opposite in your experience of them, exists on the same plane. Imagine a seesaw, with one emotion on one side and its opposite on the other. The only thing that separates the two is the rate of vibration. Both exist on the same piece of wood. When you are vibrating faster at a higher level and energy is flowing through you freely and openly, the seat carrying happiness will rise to the top and vice versa. But of course, for this to happen, your organs and glands must be functioning properly, which is where Chinese medicine enters. In Chinese medicine, at its simplest explanation, each emotion is attached to an organ that is also connected to one of the 5 elements that exist in all humans. What emotions rise in you depends on the health of an organ. The kidney is connected to the water element and fear. The liver is connected to the wood element and anger. The heart is connected to the fire element and joy. Now please know that emotions do not arise merely because of the state of an organ. However, when there are extreme movements in an emotion, this is often associated with an imbalance in an element and thus an organ. In today's sedentary lifestyle, the human body has become very misaligned. Because of this, the organs and glands are no longer sitting properly in the fascia. As a result, they no longer function efficiently, giving rise to a chaotic cocktail of emotions, which as we now know leads to humans attaching thoughts to those emotions, which then translate into unhealthy reactive behaviors. This is what we animals like to call the internal human domino. However, the opposite is also true. The rise of emotions is strongly connected with your mind. Your thoughts have a direct influence on your glands and the release of such hormones and chemicals as serotonin, dopamine, and cortisol into your system. These give rise to emotions, which in turn affect the efficiency of all your organs and systems. If the emotions are negative and low in frequency, the workings of your organs and systems will slow down. That in turn will encourage the low frequency emotions to stick around longer. It's a bit of a chicken and egg, that one. Do you know, Corey, that when you live in negativity and stress, you fuel negative emotions that dump nearly 12,000 harmful chemicals called peptides into your body within a time frame of 90 seconds to 2 minutes. These chemicals block your cells from absorbing nutrients. If this is a fleeting emotion, then the harm is negligible and the cells become unblocked. However, if you stay in this state and bury the emotions, then the damage is long-term. For when your cells die in a state of stress, a new one is created in its place. This new cell will arrive with receptor sites for chemicals related to negative emotions rather than for absorbing nutrients. This, of course, is a very simplified version of the whole process. Then, of course, there is the energy of 8 billion humans that resonates out into the world and affects every living being in its path. A world where the vast majority of humans are ejecting negative thoughts and words out is not a good thing for your species, which then is not a good thing for all of us. Add to this the traumatic energy rising in the world from the slaughtering of the rest of us in nature every single day, and you begun to understand the forces that keep you struggling. Well, unless you practice a discipline such as yoga, which teaches you to live in a state of bliss and peace in the internal jungle of emotions. Corey, I'm going to say this again. You humans have the power to change the world and yourself just by changing your thoughts that influence everything from the cell upward in you, and in every living being with which you share the planet as well. Ever notice how when someone negative walks into a class or a room, it affects all the people in that space? How your companion's negativity can create an unhealthy change in your own emotions and in your body because thoughts have power. I know we have spewed a lot out here, so let me pull this all together for you. All organs and glands are connected to chakras and the movement of energy. So when energy is blocked by negative thoughts, misaligned body, poor breathing, chakras cease to flow uninterrupted and all the organs and glands in their sphere malfunction. This gives rise to some low-frequency emotions attached to by negative thoughts, giving rise to unhealthy behaviors, which in turn dims your life force to leave you feeling more like Darth Vader, dark and heavy, rather than Yoda, the enlightened one. Therefore, humans, emotions are fabulous because when observed objectively, they can tell you so much about yourself. They tell you where you are malfunctioning and where you are stuck. Let's say you are feeling insecure and it is beginning to make you feel a little nuts. Well, first, sit in silence or go for a walk in nature and just listen. Don't think or analyze anything. Just listen to your breath, to nature, and what rises from the silence. The source of that insecurity lies in you and most probably has a history. If you just listen, you will learn whence it comes. That is, if you are honest with yourself and don't play hide and seek. Often, you don't want to hear the truth because in knowing the truth, you will have to make a change that you fear or speak a truth, the consequences of which you are unsure. Also be aware if you are tired, not eating well, not drinking enough water, if there is a full moon, if you're on your period, or if there are large shifts happening on a planetary scale, as all these have an influence on your emotions. Take note if you are so exhausted that you are sitting in your reactive state rather than a responsive state, because this will also influence your emotions. Remember, human, others do not give you emotions, you give them to yourself. With that in mind, observe the thoughts you have attached to the emotion. What is the source of those thoughts? When strong negative emotions rise in you, also check what organ the emotion is attached to and see if you are treating that organ well. Make a note if you are practicing yoga or any other discipline that opens and moves energy in you, or if your body is all misaligned and blocked, because this too affects your emotions. Basically, take a journey of self-awareness into yourself, because emotions are always telling you something about you. It is just a matter of whether you want to hear it or not. Whatever the source of the emotion, it is of utmost importance that you hold space for them within you, so that they can move freely through you and out of you without resistance. You need only begin by accepting that you are not your emotions, that you are merely a conduit for it to express itself, teach you something, and then move through you. Too often you humans hang on to low-frequency emotions, attaching to them and not wanting to let go of them because you have identified yourself with them. They have become a part of your identity as the one who is always sad, always complaining, the one who is negative, happy, etc. The more you attach to emotions, the more you become habits, the more they become habits and addictions that are hard to break. For some of you, instead of trying to break the habit, you find comfort in it. You make excuses to stay in them because in them you don't have to work to change. Or even worse, you feel guilty about being happy or unworthy of happiness because you've convinced yourself with that powerful conditioned mind of yours that you deserve to be miserable. That is why it is so important to let unhealthy emotions go once you have learned the lesson they are teaching you. The longer you hold on to them, the tighter they will hold on to you. Once you acknowledge that emotions are teachers, however, you understand that there is nothing wrong with expressing emotions in a healthy way. When I say healthy, here are some examples of what I speak. Speak to a friend, go for a walk, take a swim or a run, write it down, sit in meditation and just listen, or put it in an audio and listen to it. Do not drink, smoke, shout, rise to anger, or any other act that is negative and detrimental to yourself or others. What is unhealthy is burying them, resisting them, pretending you are okay when clearly you are not. When you do this, they will eventually manifest themselves as a disease, uncontrollable anger, self-harm, an addiction, or a number of other negative behaviors. Corey stood up and started to pace, climbing over animals, avoiding swinging monkeys. Excuse the interruption, but what you are saying here is that I must learn to hold space for my emotions, to stay present in them without attaching to them, because emotions too, as all things are impermanent, shall pass. I must learn to live above the pendulum of my emotions by sitting in the stillness that lies beneath it all. And it is in this stillness, the silence between breaths, the quiet that pervades everything, that I can witness everything clearly, including the source, and accept everything as is rather than to react to every emotion. Bravo, bravo, nature whooped and hollered, dancing the uncontrollable dance of life. Baobab smiled, and we all smiled with her, for Corey was finally understanding that yoga was not something you did, but something that happens in you. It is a disappearing act into something beyond physical boundaries, impressions, emotions, and ideas, into the silence from which sound and existence were birthed. In yoga, they are the tools that labor to bring humans into alignment with the cosmic energy, and it is only when all is aligned with them that their total absorption into their soul is possible. How liberating it is for those humans who are truly able to see themselves from the platform of their consciousness. Corey, I believe that today you have felt yoga. Now, before we disperse, shall we salute the moon with our moon salutation and offer up our intentions for this new moon cycle? Before any of us could answer, Baobab raised her limbs to the moon, paused, and sent out love to the space above. Then on her exhale, she folded forward, dropping all her limbs' residence onto the earth and some into ocean. It was raining nature as every tree in the cove instinctively followed suit. As we landed, we got up, dusted ourselves off, or swam to shore, and in some cases aided by a dolphin. We then lined up behind the trees and moved with the trees and plants in their half-moon salutation. When we were done, we had successfully moved all the varying emotions out of us. We lifted our hearts to moon and ommed 3 times. each time holding the silence at the end to allow for our vibration to connect to everything around us. When we were done, chatter erupted and I flew to Corey. "Are you ready?" I asked him amid a rock show of joy and laughter. "Not really, but I know I must return." I whistled and silence dropped like thunder over us. I turned my head to Corey and nodded. He started, "Thank you again for explaining the masculine and the feminine in me today and providing me with the knowledge about my chakras and the tools to start observing my emotions from a place of non-attachment. In every conversation, I'm beginning to find joy and peace within me, and I finally stopped searching for it outside of me." With that, he bowed and we all bowed back. And just like that, the lightning of joy struck the cove and they were all back to life. "How have you been?" I asked Corey as we meandered back to duality, the world where everything was perceived as separate. "Well, I'm feeling challenged. You've opened something in me, a deep desire to know my true self. You are right about the hard work. I thought my job was hard, but this path is bigger than any challenge I know. Meeting this one will make every other challenge a ride on a cloud." I laughed with him, and then there was silence as we watched the other and listened to how we felt. "You pass through my mind often. In the beginning it was hard and I suffered with distance. But in time it has become easier, and I know I only need to sit in silence to hear you and feel your thoughts that are always filled with love. I'm beginning to understand this thing called love more clearly. We humans toss it around all the time as if we know what it is, but really most of us have no idea. I was thinking the other day about how we are always asked to fight for the love of our country, to work hard for the love of our family, to toil and sweat to earn our happiness. And in all that, what gets sacrificed is love. We hardly spend time with our loved ones until one day that love diminishes as we have invested in everything but actual love. That includes loving ourselves. We are never asked or told to take the time to love ourselves. Instead, we're told love our job, our country, our religion, our cars, our lives, but never ourselves. I landed on his shoulder and lay my head upon his. "You are becoming very wise through awareness, my friend. You are right. You humans claim to be the champions of love in all your acts, but when it comes down to loving yourselves and spending time with the love of others, you monumentally fail. As for us, you are the twin to my soul, and no matter where this journey may take us, you and I are connected for eternity. And one more thing. Corey, choose happiness and peace in your thoughts, in your actions, and in your behavior. Forgive yourself for whatever it is that is preventing you from being content with yourself." Lessons. Learn the lessons that need to be learned, and then move forward. Imagine what a beautiful planet we would all live in if all the energy moving around was being propelled by high-frequency emotions. Corey rubbed his hand over my head, pulled my head closer to his cheek, and then he turned and kissed me gently on the side of my beak. It was as if I had been struck by electricity. For a moment he lingered there, and I allowed him and myself to stay there. Inside, my smile extended across my whole feathered body, because I was witnessing the impossible meeting the possible.